Leon Todd for G66. Welcome to another Tuesday Tone Tip. On today's video, I want to take a look at a model of one of the most popular modern high gain amps. We're going to take a look at the 5153 models in the Axe-Fx FM9 and FM3. I'm currently on the Axe-Fx 3 and I have the latest public beta release, including some of the new Dynacabs. So I'll put this preset up, but just keep in mind, if you want to download it and try it for yourself, you will need the latest beta release of the firmware. I'm going to start with 5153 100 watt blue because it's my favorite model in here. There is a 50 watt blue model in here, and there's also the green and red channel of the amplifiers modeled on the 100 watt version. Basically, the red channel has even more gain than the blue channel, and the green channel has slightly less gain as a starting point. So I think if you can kind of wrap your head around how to dial in the blue mode, you can play around with the green and red and get some great results as well. I'm using my go-to free Cab IR LT-TV Mix 7. The low cut I've got at 40 Hertz and the high cut I've got at 10K. So slightly more open than I would usually have these. I've been experimenting with those settings myself. I'm kind of digging it. This is a Greco Les Paul custom copy. It's got a Gibson Dirty Fingers bridge humbucker in here, which is quite hot. So let's just hear this as a starting point amp at stock settings with the Cab IR. I'm in drop D using Elixir 10 to 52 strings. So first impressions there, it is a little bit muddy at those settings, but does have this kind of almost Coptoir style mid-range in there. I find if you want to do the modern high gain thing with something like a 5150 derivative or a Recto, the real trick is to turn the master volume down. I would recommend turning it down somewhere around 2, and you'll also kind of see on this headroom meter that you stop running out of headroom on here. I'm going to compensate by turning the level control up somewhere around 0. Let's just do that one tweak and have a listen to what it sounds like now. So it's a little bit tighter, it's a little less kind of flubby sounding. It is a very sort of fizzy sounding amplifier though. So what I'm going to do now, once I've got that master volume around 2, and again, dial this into taste. You might like it slightly higher, you might like it slightly lower. It's all about getting it the way you like it after all. What I like doing here is actually turning the gain control down somewhere around 3 or 4. Pulling out a little bit of mid-range, going for that kind of classic super chunky sound on here. I like bringing the treble control up, pardon me, somewhere around 6.5, 7, adding a bit of bass in there and bringing the presence control up. This is kind of my starting point with this particular amp. What we're going to do is hear this, but then we're going to do the classic thing you do with a 5150 style amp is you boost it. So let's hear it unboosted. Now, I like that. For what I personally want though, I want that little bit of extra heat, sizzle, and intensity on there. So we're going to hit it with a front end boost. And I associate this with so many kind of modern hard rock and metal sounds. Probably ground zero for the boosted 5150 thing is a lot of metalcore stuff. I think like Killswitch Engage and anything that Adam D produced. If you've got a guitar with really high output pickups or like some EMGs, this Dirty Fingers is passive, but it's pretty high output. This works really, really well. You can use the input boost in the preamp, and selecting something like a T808 is a great starting point. Let's have a listen to the difference there. So while the 808 is pretty subtle, the CC boost is maybe slightly less subtle. The shred boost isn't subtle at all. That one sounds amazing on here, somewhere around 9 dB of boost. I'd actually dial the gain control back on this one. So what I find interesting about something like this is the interaction between the boost and something like the CC boost or the shred boost or the 808. They are not flat boosts. They kind of have an inherent EQ curve to them. So what you're doing is you're not only adding more gain, you're shaping what's hitting the preamp of these high gain amplifiers. So bringing the gain down and using a boost doesn't necessarily sound the same as just turning the gain up on the amp. That's the sort of magic combination in there. It's sort of like, do I apply my seasoning to my food while I'm cooking it? Or do I apply it afterwards? Or do I do a little bit of both? So let's hear this now with the gain control down. I've got the shred boost on over there. I think I've kind of honed in on this sweet spot for what I personally like. And something like the shred boost, the CC boost, and 808, we can try a drive block in a second. It's also going to change the overall amount of like low end going into the amp, so we can kind of turn the bass control up if we feel we need it. Let's have a listen. I'm really digging that as an alternative to the amp block preamp boost. Use any of the boosts in the drive block. The advantage here is that if you want to add some clipping from the drive circuit in there, you can do that. Let's stick with this, say, super overdrive. So I'll start with the tone up, the level all the way up, and then I'll just increase the drive a little bit to add a little bit of clipping from the pedal. So you kind of have the boost and the EQ shape from the pedal, the gain from the amp, and then a little bit of sort of like clipping in front of the amp. It's all part of this glorious kind of little combination. The precision drive is pretty fun there. Another one that I quite like is actually the compulsion distortion based on a full tone OCD. So let's use the LP version of that one on there. I'll start with the drive quite low, maybe the level not all the way up. Let's hear the difference in there. I'll cater the tone control to taste. That was pretty cool. There's like a Crusty character on there. If I was going for the super chugga-chug thing, I would still use the shred boost in here. Of course, you could use something like a graphic or parametric EQ before the amp to further boost it. Or if you don't like the boosting at all, you can just turn the gain control on the amp up. Like I said before though, there's this very complex interplay between the way you use a boost, whether you're using some clipping pre-amp or you're just using the EQ and boost from something like the preamp boost, and then where you have the gain control on your particular amp. One last little tweak that I would suggest for this, if you really want to go to chunk town, is use a multi-band compressor after the cab. So let's add a multi-band comp. I've done a video talking about these kind of tight settings on here. All you have to do is adjust the threshold. You can also grab my blocks library. This is in there if you like it. So let's just get this threshold dialed in and we'll have a listen to what it does to the overall tightness. If you'd like to learn more about that multi-band compressor trick, I have a video up on my channel and here on the G66 channel talking about how you can use this multi-band compressor to kind of sculpt the low end on your tones. What I would suggest is if you're enjoying what's happening in here, copying these presets as a starting point with the 5153. I guess the main trick is using a boost and bringing the master volume down to keep the amp really controlled. These sort of amps really get their sound from the preamp distortion rather than the power amp distortion. And then you can audition the red and the green type as well as the 50 watt mode and see which one kind of suits your personal taste. I like the 100 watt blue mode the most, and I have it saved in my blocks library for any time I want that particular sound. This is a great amp for blending when you're multi-tracking rhythm guitars as well. For example, if you have a Mark series or a rectifier, I feel like they blend really, really well with this 5153 for sort of more chunky modern tones. If you've got something like, you know, an 800 or a JVM, some kind of Marshall flavor, then this also can complement and reinforce those particular tones. Let me know your favorite settings with the 5153. Do you like the 50 watt? Do you like the blue, green, or red mode? And what's your kind of favorite pairing in terms of guitars and tunings? Boosts either in the amp block or drive pedals, and finally cab IRs. I'd love to hear from all of you and pick up some more tips and tricks. If you like what I'm doing here, be sure to hit the subscribe button and tune in for another Tuesday Tone Tip next week. I'll see you all then. Thanks for watching.